Your mind is the starting point of everything you experience. Every decision you make, every challenge you face, and every opportunity you take begins inside your head. But most people never learn how to use their mind with purpose. They react instead of thinking strategically. They let stress, fear, and confusion take control, and then wonder why life feels so chaotic. Master your mind. Strategic thinking for every challenge is about changing that. This audiobook will show you how to stay calm when life tests you, how to think clearly when others panic, and how to make decisions that move you forward instead of holding you back. You'll learn how to train your mind to stay focused, replace self-doubt with logic, and turn every setback into growth. It's not about being perfect, it's about becoming steady, strong, and intentional. Imagine waking up each day with a clear direction, knowing exactly where your energy should go. Imagine facing a problem and feeling prepared instead of overwhelmed. That's what happens when you master your mind. You stop wasting time on distractions, you stop being controlled by emotion, and you start making decisions that align with the life you truly want. This journey isn't about quick motivation, it's about lasting change. Each chapter will guide you step by step toward a sharper, calmer, and more disciplined mindset. You'll discover how to build daily habits that create confidence, how to protect your mental energy, and how to keep improving no matter what life throws at you. If you've ever felt stuck, scattered, or tired of repeating the same mistakes, this is your moment to reset. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have. It just needs direction. Stay with me through this audiobook, and together we'll rebuild how you think, react, and move through challenges. By the end, you won't just understand your mind, you'll know how to use it strategically in every part of your life. Chapter 1. Strengthen your focus and direct your thoughts with purpose. Focus is not something you find by accident. It is something you build through awareness, discipline, and choice. Every day, your mind is pulled in 1,000 directions: messages, opinions, worries, memories, plans, distractions. Most people move through life reacting to whatever demands their attention. They rarely stop to ask if what they are focusing on is leading them toward something meaningful. The truth is that your thoughts shape your direction. What you think about consistently, you move toward. When your mind is scattered, your life becomes scattered. When your mind is steady and directed, your life gains direction too. Strengthening your focus means taking charge of that inner energy and learning to guide it toward what truly matters. A strong mind does not come from avoiding distractions, it comes from mastering them. It starts by being aware of where your attention goes. Many people lose hours each day to unimportant things without realizing it. They wake up and instantly check their phones. They scroll, compare, and absorb noise before their own thoughts have a chance to form. Then they wonder why they feel anxious or unmotivated. The mind cannot stay sharp if it is constantly reacting to random inputs. To strengthen your focus, you must create mental boundaries. Before the world demands your attention, you must decide what deserves it. You must make a conscious decision each morning. Where will I direct my thoughts today, and what purpose will guide them? Focus grows through clarity. You cannot direct your thoughts if you do not know what you are aiming for. The first step to mastering your focus is defining your priorities with precision. Ask yourself, what matters most? What are you working toward? What kind of person do you want to become? What values do you want to live by? Most people drift through life without a clear sense of purpose, and as a result, their attention is wasted on small things that don't contribute to their growth. Clarity brings focus. When you know your destination, distractions lose their power. A person with a clear sense of purpose does not waste time on what doesn't align with their mission. Every decision becomes simpler, every action more deliberate, and every thought more powerful. But focus is not just about clarity, it is also about consistency. A clear goal means little if you cannot stay with it long enough to make progress. The modern world rewards distraction. It offers endless entertainment, endless noise, endless ways to escape discomfort. To develop strong focus, you must train your mind to stay with one thing long enough to see results. That requires patience. The disciplined mind does not jump from one idea to another because it knows that progress takes time. It works quietly, persistently, without the need for constant stimulation. When you strengthen your focus, you become more stable inside. You stop chasing every new thing that promises quick satisfaction. You start moving forward with calm intention, trusting that steady effort produces lasting change. One of the greatest barriers to focus is mental clutter. Every unfinished task, every worry, every piece of information you consume occupies space in your mind. You can't think clearly when your mind is full of noise. The key to sharpening focus is to simplify. You must learn to separate what is essential from what is not. Ask yourself throughout the day, does this matter? Does this help me move forward? If the answer is no, let it go. You will find that clarity and peace often come not from adding more but from removing the unnecessary. Simplification is not a loss, it is freedom. When you clear away distractions, you gain the mental space to think deeply, to plan wisely, and to act deliberately. Training your focus also means mastering your environment. Your surroundings influence your attention more than you realize. A cluttered space leads to a cluttered mind. A noisy environment fragments your thoughts. If you want your mind to be clear, make your environment reflect that clarity. Keep your space organized and calm. Design routines that support concentration. Decide when and where you will work, reflect, or rest. When your external world supports your inner goals, your focus becomes stronger without effort. You no longer waste energy fighting distractions, you simply build a space where focus thrives naturally. Mental focus also depends on physical energy. The brain cannot concentrate if the body is exhausted or neglected. Sleep, nutrition, and movement play a huge role in mental strength. When you are tired, your thoughts scatter easily. When you are nourished and rested, your mind becomes sharper and more stable. Respect your body if you want to strengthen your mind. A daily routine that balances activity, rest, and reflection builds the foundation for powerful thinking. You cannot separate mental discipline from physical discipline. They grow together. When you take care of your body, your thoughts gain endurance. When you move, you release tension. When you rest, you recharge attention. Focus is built through balance, not burnout. Directing your thoughts with purpose means more than staying focused. It means choosing what you focus on. The human mind is constantly generating thoughts. Many of them are automatic, shaped by habits, fears, or emotions. If you do not take control, your mind will run on default, often replaying the same worries, doubts, and regrets. But when you learn to guide your attention deliberately, you shift from reacting to creating. You start deciding what deserves your mental energy. You stop feeding thoughts that drain you and start nurturing those that strengthen you. This is the essence of mental mastery, to think consciously instead of automatically. Every moment, you have a choice about where your mind goes. You can focus on what's wrong, or you can focus on what you can do about it. You can dwell on the past, or you can plan for the future. You can replay fears, or you can imagine solutions. The direction of your thoughts shapes the direction of your life. Purposeful thinking means asking the right questions. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" ask, "What can I do differently next time?" Every question you ask focuses your mind in a specific direction. Choose questions that guide your thoughts toward growth, not despair. Over time, your thinking patterns change. You begin to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to apply strategy, patience, and resilience. Another powerful way to strengthen focus is through mindful observation. Throughout the day, pause and notice where your mind is. Are you present, or are you lost in worry? Are you thinking about what you can control, or about what you can't? Awareness brings choice. When you notice your attention drifting, gently bring it back to the task or thought that matters. This small act of redirection is how you train the mind. It's like strengthening a muscle. Each time you bring your attention back, you grow stronger. The goal is not to never get distracted, but to recognize distraction quickly and return to purpose. Over time, this builds mental endurance. You become less reactive, more aware, more in control of your internal world. Directing your thoughts with purpose also means thinking strategically about your problems. Many people face challenges emotionally rather than logically. They react with frustration, fear, or avoidance. But a strategic thinker stays calm and analyzes the situation. They ask, what is the real issue here? What options do I have? What outcome do I want? What step can I take now? This way of thinking reduces anxiety and increases effectiveness. It turns confusion into clarity. Every challenge becomes a problem to solve, not a threat to fear. The more you practice this mindset, the more confident you become in dealing with life's uncertainty. Strategy replaces panic. Purpose replaces confusion. A practical exercise for strengthening focus is the one thing rule. Each day, choose one task or goal that truly matters and commit to giving it your full attention until it's complete. Do not move to the next thing until you finish the first. This trains your mind to stay steady and committed. It also builds trust with yourself. You learn that when you decide to do something, you follow through. Confidence grows from consistency, not promises. Each completed task reinforces your belief that you can direct your attention and finish what you start. Over time, this habit builds deep inner discipline. You become someone whose focus creates results, not just intentions. Another method is the mental reset. At least once a day, take a few minutes to stop everything and breathe deeply. During this time, observe your thoughts without judging them. Notice what's occupying your mind. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me or distracting me? Then consciously shift your focus toward what truly matters at that moment. This daily reset clears mental clutter and strengthens self-awareness. It teaches you to step back and choose your direction rather than being carried by random thoughts. The more often you practice this, the more control you gain over your mental state. You begin to think with clarity, even in stressful situations, because you've trained your mind to pause and redirect. To strengthen focus further, reduce mental multitasking. Many believe they can handle several things at once, but in truth, multitasking divides attention and weakens productivity. Your mind performs best when it concentrates fully on one task. When you switch between tasks repeatedly, your brain needs time to readjust, and you lose mental energy. This constant shifting creates fatigue and anxiety. Instead, practice single tasking. Give your full attention to what's in front of you, finish it, and then move on. You will find that your work improves, your mind feels calmer, and your energy lasts longer. The more you focus on one thing at a time, the more you train your brain to stay steady and efficient. Directing your thoughts with purpose also involves mastering your internal dialogue. The way you speak to yourself determines how much focus and motivation you sustain. Negative self-talk drains attention. When you constantly criticize or doubt yourself, you create mental friction. It's hard to focus on growth when you're fighting your own mind. Replace self-criticism with clear, encouraging, and realistic thoughts. When you face a challenge, tell yourself, I can figure this out. When you make a mistake, remind yourself, I can learn from this. These are not empty affirmations, they are instructions to your brain. They guide your attention toward solutions instead of problems. Over time, your internal voice becomes an ally rather than an obstacle. This is how mental focus becomes self-sustaining. Your mind starts working with you, not against you. True focus also requires emotional management. Emotions are powerful forces that can either guide or derail your thoughts. When you feel angry, afraid, or anxious, your attention narrows to the source of the emotion. You stop thinking clearly. To strengthen focus, learn to calm emotional storms quickly. Recognize when you are being pulled by emotion and take a step back before reacting. Breathe, observe, and separate fact from feeling. Ask yourself, what is really happening here? This mental pause allows you to respond strategically instead of impulsively. Emotional control does not mean suppressing feelings, it means mastering their direction. When emotions serve your purpose instead of controlling it, your mind becomes unshakable. Another dimension of mental strength is persistence. Focus is not something you maintain perfectly every day. Some days your mind will wander, and that's normal. What matters is returning to purpose. The more often you bring yourself back, the stronger you get. Growth is not in perfection, but in persistence. Each time you choose to stay focused despite distractions, you build resilience. Each time you return to your purpose after losing it, you strengthen your self-discipline. This is the quiet power of mental mastery. It's not loud, dramatic, or sudden. It grows silently through consistent choices made over time. Purpose gives focus its direction. Without purpose, focus has no anchor. Ask yourself regularly why you are doing what you are doing. What meaning does it hold? What long-term outcome are you creating? Purpose transforms ordinary effort into deliberate action. It turns routine into ritual. When you align your thoughts with your values and long-term vision, even simple tasks become meaningful. You begin to see that every small action contributes to something larger. This awareness keeps you grounded, motivated, and clear. Your thoughts stop wandering aimlessly because they have a mission. In every situation, whether easy or difficult, you can strengthen your focus by choosing perspective. Challenges will always exist, but your ability to stay centered determines how you handle them. When things go wrong, most people lose control of their thoughts. They focus on frustration, blame, or fear. But a person who has mastered their mind looks at the same event and asks, what can I learn here? What can I do next? This simple shift in focus turns chaos into clarity. You cannot always control circumstances, but you can always control your response. That is where your power lies. The more you practice this mindset, the calmer and more strategic you become. You learn that focus is not about ignoring difficulties, but about directing your energy toward solutions. Strengthening focus and directing thoughts with purpose is not a one-time act. It's a lifelong discipline. Each day, your mind will be tested by distraction, negativity, and doubt. But each day also offers an opportunity to practice awareness, clarity, and control. When you choose focus, you choose freedom. You free yourself from the noise of the world and reconnect with your inner stability. You begin to live intentionally instead of reactively. Over time, your thoughts align with your values, your actions align with your vision, and your results reflect your purpose. This is how you master your mind, not through intensity, but through daily practice. In the end, your life will follow the direction of your dominant thoughts. Strengthen your focus, and you strengthen everything. Direct your thoughts with purpose, and your purpose will direct your life. Each day, take ownership of your attention. Protect it as the most valuable resource you have. Use it to create, to grow, to build something meaningful. When your mind is steady and your purpose is clear, no challenge can overpower you. You stop chasing distractions and start designing your reality. You think strategically, act deliberately, and live consciously. That is the essence of mastering your mind, and it begins with one powerful decision: to focus. Chapter 2. Train your mind to stay calm in every challenge. Calmness is strength. When the mind remains steady in difficult moments, you gain access to clarity that emotion usually hides. Every challenge you face, whether personal, financial, or emotional, tests your ability to remain centered. Most people believe calmness means being passive, but it is the opposite. Calmness is controlled power. It means acting from awareness instead of impulse, responding with reason instead of reaction. When you train your mind to stay calm in every challenge, you stop being a prisoner of circumstance and become the master of your response. The first step toward inner calm is awareness. You cannot control what you do not notice. Most people are not aware of how quickly they get carried away by emotions. They react before they even realize what's happening. Anger rises, fear builds, anxiety spreads, and before long, they are acting from confusion instead of intention. To stay calm, you must learn to observe your inner state before it takes over. When you feel tension building, pause. Notice what is happening in your body, your breathing, your heartbeat, your posture. Notice the thoughts rushing through your mind. This awareness gives you the power to choose how to respond instead of letting emotions decide for you. Calmness begins with the ability to pause between stimulus and reaction. Every challenge brings discomfort, but discomfort is not your enemy, it is your training ground. The mind becomes calm, not by avoiding stress, but by learning to stay composed within it. Just as muscles grow stronger under resistance, mental resilience grows through facing pressure consciously. When something upsets you, instead of running from it or forcing yourself to suppress the feeling, breathe through it. See it as an opportunity to practice control. Tell yourself, "This is my moment to strengthen my mind." This shift in perspective changes everything. You no longer see challenges as threats, but as opportunities to build stability. Calmness then becomes a daily discipline rather than an occasional state. A calm mind is a thinking mind. When emotions run high, logic disappears. Fear and anger narrow your vision. You can only see the immediate problem, not the bigger picture. Calmness expands awareness. It allows you to analyze, plan, and act with precision. Imagine two people facing the same crisis. One reacts with panic, the other with calm. The calm person can see possibilities that panic hides. They make better decisions because they are not clouded by emotion. That is why calmness is a form of intelligence. It keeps your thinking clear when others lose theirs. It gives you the advantage in every difficult situation. Training calmness is a practice, not a personality trait. Anyone can learn it. Start with your breathing. When your body is tense, your breath becomes shallow, and shallow breathing feeds anxiety. Deep breathing sends a signal to your brain that you are safe. It lowers stress hormones and steadies your focus. During stressful moments, take slow, deep breaths through your nose, hold for a second, and exhale fully through your mouth. This simple act interrupts emotional momentum. It gives you a small space between the event and your reaction, a space where reason can step in. Over time, this becomes automatic. Your mind learns that no matter what happens, you have control over your inner state. Another practical method for building calmness is deliberate exposure to small discomforts. Take cold showers, exercise when you don't feel like it, or work in silence without distractions. These practices teach the mind to stay composed in situations that trigger discomfort. When you voluntarily face controlled stress, your tolerance expands. You stop overreacting to minor challenges because your nervous system is trained to handle intensity without losing control. The key is consistency. Every time you stay calm in a small irritation, you prepare yourself for bigger challenges. Calmness is cumulative. It grows from daily moments of self-control. Your environment also plays a role in how calm you feel. Constant noise, clutter, or chaos in your surroundings can agitate the mind. Create spaces that promote peace, clean, simple, and organized. Begin your mornings in silence before exposing yourself to external noise. This allows your mind to start the day from a place of control. Spend a few minutes each day reflecting on your intentions. Ask yourself what kind of mental state you want to carry into your day. When calmness becomes your default, you bring stability into every environment you enter. People around you will notice it, and they'll respond to it, because calm energy is magnetic. Calmness also comes from acceptance. Most inner turmoil comes from resisting what is happening. The mind keeps repeating, "This shouldn't be happening," and that resistance multiplies suffering. Acceptance does not mean you agree with everything. It means you see reality clearly and choose to respond constructively. When something goes wrong, remind yourself, "This is the situation. Now what can I do about it?" This mental shift stops unnecessary emotional waste. You can't control every event, but you can always control how you approach it. Acceptance replaces denial with clarity and replaces anger with strategy. To maintain calmness, you must learn to separate emotion from identity. Feeling anger or fear does not mean you are those emotions. It means they are passing through you. When you see emotions as temporary visitors, you stop giving them control. Observe them, like clouds passing through the sky, present but not permanent. Tell yourself, "This feeling is real, but it will pass." This simple recognition prevents emotions from hijacking your mind. Over time, your emotional reactions become shorter and your recovery quicker. Calmness grows each time you witness emotion without acting on it. Another tool for inner calm is perspective. Challenges often feel overwhelming because the mind magnifies them. When something stressful happens, ask yourself, "Will this matter 5 years from now?" Most of the time, the answer is no. This question immediately reduces the emotional weight of the problem. Perspective shrinks worry to its true size. It reminds you that most difficulties are temporary, and even serious ones become manageable when faced with patience and clarity. Calmness does not mean ignoring problems, it means seeing them in proportion. To train calmness further, limit mental noise. Constant input from news, social media, and endless opinions overstimulates the mind. It creates an illusion of urgency that makes you restless. Set boundaries for what you consume. Spend time in quiet reflection daily, even for a few minutes. Silence resets your nervous system. It clears mental clutter and helps you process your thoughts calmly. The quieter your environment, the clearer your mind becomes. And a clear mind is naturally calm. Calmness also depends on the strength of your inner beliefs. If you believe you can handle life's difficulties, you remain calm even when things go wrong. Confidence and calmness grow together. Strengthen your belief in your ability to adapt. Remind yourself of times you have overcome past difficulties. This reinforces a sense of capability that keeps you steady in new challenges. When your inner foundation is solid, no external storm can easily shake you. Gratitude is another anchor for calmness. When you focus on what you appreciate, your mind naturally shifts from fear to peace. Gratitude grounds you in the present moment. It reminds you of what is stable and meaningful instead of what is missing. Make it a daily practice to name 3 things you're thankful for, especially when under stress. Gratitude changes emotional chemistry. It lowers stress and increases resilience. The more you practice it, the more naturally calm your mindset becomes. Calmness also comes from preparation. Uncertainty creates anxiety, but preparation creates confidence. When you take time to plan, learn, and anticipate challenges, your mind feels secure. You can't predict everything, but you can always prepare mentally. Think ahead, assess risks, and make contingency plans. This kind of thinking transforms worry into readiness. The mind stays calm not because everything is easy, but because it knows it's equipped to handle whatever comes. Staying calm also means letting go of the need for control over everything. Much stress comes from trying to manage outcomes that are not within your reach. You can't control other people's opinions, external events, or the passage of time. You can only control your actions, your attitude, and your response. The moment you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, peace begins. Focus your energy on what you can do right now. That focus is what turns chaos into order. The calmer you are, the more effectively you can influence what is within your power. You can also build calmness through consistent reflection. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to review how you responded to different situations. Ask yourself, did I stay calm when things got tense? Where did I lose my balance? What can I do better next time? This habit strengthens awareness and accountability. Over time, you notice improvement, you recover faster from frustration, speak with more patience, and think more clearly under stress. Calmness then becomes not just a state, but a part of your character. A calm person has an invisible advantage in life. They think more clearly, connect with others more deeply, and make wiser choices. Calmness earns trust. People naturally rely on those who stay grounded in chaos. But the greatest benefit of calmness is internal freedom. You stop being ruled by mood or emotion. You start living from principle instead of reaction. Life becomes less about surviving storms and more about steering through them with confidence. Calmness allows you to preserve energy for what truly matters instead of wasting it on emotional turbulence. Training your mind to stay calm in every challenge is not about removing emotion, it is about guiding it. It means holding steady when life tests you, trusting your strength when things get uncertain, and staying thoughtful when others panic. It is a lifelong practice, built one choice at a time. Each time you stay calm instead of reacting, you gain a little more control over yourself. Each calm moment builds a stronger mind. Eventually, you reach a point where no external event can easily disturb your peace. You become steady, deliberate, and clear, a person whose calm presence transforms every situation they enter. That is true strength, to remain centered in chaos and lead yourself with quiet power. Chapter 3. Build confidence by turning small wins into lasting habits. Confidence is not something you wait to feel before taking action. It grows through movement, through repetition, through the small decisions that prove to you that you are capable. People often imagine confidence as a gift that others have naturally. But the truth is that it is a skill, a result of practice and evidence. The most powerful confidence comes from the quiet certainty that you can rely on yourself. That certainty is built not through one grand success, but through many small wins that compound over time into lasting habits. Each small victory tells your mind, I can do this, and each repetition makes that belief stronger until it becomes part of who you are. When you decide to focus on small wins, you take control of the most important part of growth: consistency. Big goals can be inspiring, but they can also be overwhelming. They demand effort, time, and patience. And many people give up because they expect progress to come quickly. But when you break a goal down into small, achievable actions, you create momentum. You give your brain something it can understand and complete today, not someday. Each small step is a promise kept, and each kept promise strengthens your inner trust. The person who learns to honor small commitments to themselves eventually becomes unstoppable. The mind records everything you do. Every time you say you'll do something and follow through, your brain registers it as proof that you can depend on yourself. But every time you avoid, delay, or give up, it remembers that too. Confidence is built on self-trust, and self-trust is built on follow-through. You don't need to conquer mountains to feel capable, you just need to show up for yourself repeatedly. Whether it's finishing a workout, reading a few pages, saving a small amount, or learning something new, each action reinforces the message that you are in charge of your growth. That's how small wins become lasting confidence. One of the simplest ways to build small wins into habits is to lower the starting barrier. Many people never start because they set their first step too high. They want to change everything at once, and when it feels impossible, they stop trying. But if you reduce the task to something so small that you can't say no to it, you begin to move. Read 1 page, do 5 minutes of exercise, write for 10 minutes. The goal is not to achieve perfection, it's to build consistency. The mind learns best through repetition, not intensity. When something becomes part of your daily rhythm, it stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like identity. That's the real goal, to turn actions into habits so natural that they no longer require motivation. Momentum is one of the strongest forces in personal growth. Once you begin stacking small wins, your energy changes. You start to feel capable not because someone told you so, but because you've seen it in your actions. The first small success makes the second one easier, and with each one, your belief grows stronger. This is how progress becomes self-reinforcing. Instead of waiting for motivation to act, action becomes your motivation. You no longer ask, "Can I do this?" You start thinking, "What's my next step?" That mindset shift turns effort into momentum, and momentum into mastery. It's also important to track your progress, no matter how minor it seems. The human brain thrives on evidence of improvement. When you write down what you've accomplished, you give your progress a physical form. It's easy to forget how far you've come when you only focus on what's left to do. Keeping a small record, whether in a notebook or app, reminds you that effort compounds. Those small wins that once felt insignificant begin to show a clear pattern of growth. This recognition builds internal validation, which is far more stable than relying on praise from others. You start to value your progress for what it truly represents, proof of discipline, not luck. Building confidence through small wins also requires patience. Confidence that lasts is not built overnight. It's developed in silence, through repetition, and through the willingness to keep going, even when results aren't visible yet. The early stages of habit building are the hardest because your effort feels larger than your reward. But those are the moments when character is formed. Every time you act when you don't feel like it, you teach your mind resilience. Every time you finish something small when you could have quit, you remind yourself that discipline matters more than mood. Confidence grows from the quiet strength of doing what needs to be done, especially when no one is watching. A useful principle for lasting confidence is to celebrate completion, not perfection. Many people lose motivation because they aim for flawless performance instead of consistent progress. But real growth is rarely perfect. Some days you'll do well, other days less so. What matters is that you keep showing up. Completion builds identity. Every finished task, no matter how small, adds a layer to your belief that you are someone who follows through. That identity eventually becomes your foundation for larger goals. You stop needing external validation because you already have proof of your reliability. Another important factor in turning small wins into habits is emotional awareness. When you accomplish something, take a moment to recognize how it feels. Confidence grows not only from results but also from emotional association. When your brain connects effort with satisfaction, it seeks to repeat it. That's why acknowledging small victories matters. It reinforces the pleasure of progress and keeps motivation alive. Don't dismiss your achievements as insignificant. Confidence fades when you ignore your growth. Give yourself credit for the steps you've taken, and your mind will want to keep moving forward. You can also build confidence by aligning small habits with personal values. When your actions reflect what matters most to you, your growth feels meaningful. It's not just about achieving, it's about becoming someone you respect. Ask yourself, what do I want to stand for? Then build habits that reflect those values. If you value health, commit to daily movement. If you value learning, read consistently. If you value discipline, stick to routines that challenge you. The more your habits express your values, the more confident you become in your identity. You stop seeking purpose and start living it. To turn small wins into lasting habits, you must design your environment to support your goals. Willpower alone is unreliable. Structure helps you stay consistent. Place cues in your surroundings that remind you of what you want to do. Keep your workout clothes visible, your books within reach, your workspace organized. Remove temptations that make distraction easy. Every small environmental adjustment reduces mental friction and increases your chance of success. Confidence is easier to maintain when your environment reinforces your intentions rather than competing with them. One mistake many people make is comparing their progress to others. Confidence cannot grow in the shadow of comparison. The only fair comparison is who you were yesterday versus who you are today. Each small win is a personal victory that belongs only to you. Someone else's journey may look faster or smoother, but that doesn't make yours less valuable. When you measure success by your own effort, you build authentic confidence. You begin to respect yourself for the discipline you've shown, not the outcomes you've achieved. That kind of confidence cannot be shaken by anyone else's success. Failure will always be part of the process, but it does not erase progress. In fact, small setbacks can strengthen confidence if you interpret them correctly. When something doesn't go as planned, treat it as information, not proof of inadequacy. Analyze what went wrong, adjust your approach, and try again. Every recovery from failure builds a deeper level of trust in yourself. You learn that mistakes are temporary and that your ability to adapt is permanent. This resilience is the mark of true confidence, knowing you can handle whatever comes your way because you have trained yourself to keep going. Consistency is the bridge between effort and identity. To transform small wins into lasting habits, you must stay consistent long enough for your brain to see the new behavior as part of who you are. That means repeating the same actions day after day, even when motivation fades. Motivation is a spark, but consistency is the flame that keeps confidence alive. When you no longer need to push yourself to act, when the habit feels natural, that's when you know the small wins have become part of your character. You are no longer trying to be confident. You are confident because your actions prove it daily. The final piece of lasting confidence is reflection. Take time to look back at what you've accomplished, not just what remains undone. Reflection gives your effort meaning. It allows you to see patterns, recognize growth, and refine your direction. Confidence grows through self-awareness. When you understand how far you've come, you strengthen your belief in how far you can go. Reflection also keeps you grounded. It reminds you that confidence is not arrogance. It's the quiet understanding that you can keep improving, no matter the outcome. Confidence built on small wins is the most reliable kind because it comes from action, not illusion. It is not about pretending to be fearless. It's about proving to yourself that you can act despite fear. It's not about waiting to feel ready. It's about creating readiness through repetition. Each small step forward reshapes how you see yourself. Each habit formed through effort becomes a part of your foundation. Over time, the person who once doubted becomes the person who acts without hesitation. That transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens through steady, deliberate progress. Small wins may look insignificant from the outside, but inside they are the bricks that build unshakable confidence. And when those small wins become daily habits, confidence stops being something you practice, it becomes the way you live. Chapter 4. Replace self-doubt with clear and logical thinking daily. Self-doubt is one of the most persistent barriers to growth. It disguises itself as caution, humility, or realism, but its true purpose is to keep you from moving forward. It makes you question your worth, your abilities, and your potential. The problem with self-doubt is that it feeds on emotion, not fact. It takes moments of uncertainty and turns them into stories about inadequacy. The only way to defeat it is through clarity and logic. Clear thinking replaces fear with facts, and logic turns emotional noise into structure. When you learn to think clearly every day, you stop letting feelings of doubt dictate your actions. You start seeing yourself and your challenges through the lens of reason instead of insecurity. The mind is powerful, but it can easily mislead you when emotions dominate. Self-doubt often begins as a feeling, not a thought. You feel anxious about doing something, and instead of examining why, you start building reasons to justify that fear. You tell yourself you're not ready, not good enough, or not capable. The emotion creates the logic, not the other way around. To replace self-doubt, you have to reverse that process. You must train your mind to lead with reasoning instead of emotion. That means questioning your thoughts before accepting them as truth. When doubt arises, ask yourself, what evidence do I have for this belief? Most of the time, you'll find that your fear is based on assumption, not fact. Clarity begins with separating emotion from evaluation. Feelings are not facts. You might feel like you're failing, but that doesn't mean you are. You might feel unprepared, but that doesn't mean you lack ability. The challenge is to look at the situation objectively. Break it down into specific pieces. What exactly are you doubting? Is it your skill, your timing, or your chance of success? Once you define it, you can analyze it. The mind calms down when it has something specific to work with. Vague fear grows in the dark, but defined problems can be solved. Logic gives structure to uncertainty. Clear thinking also requires accurate self-assessment. Many people underestimate their abilities because they only focus on what they haven't mastered yet. They overlook their progress and experience. This selective thinking strengthens self-doubt. To counter this, make it a daily habit to remind yourself of what you've accomplished and learned. Confidence does not come from ignoring your weaknesses, but from balancing them with recognition of your strengths. Every day, take a few moments to evaluate yourself fairly. Write down what you've done well, what you can improve, and what you're committed to learning next. This practice shifts your focus from inadequacy to progress, and progress always weakens doubt. Logical thinking is built through questions, not assumptions. When your mind begins to doubt, train it to respond with inquiry. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," ask, "What's making me think I can't?" Instead of, "I'll probably fail," ask, "What can I do to increase my chances of success?" These questions move your thoughts from emotion to analysis. The moment you ask a question, your brain starts looking for solutions. You break the cycle of self-doubt by redirecting your mental energy toward reasoning and problem-solving. It's not about denying fear, it's about replacing it with productive thinking. A practical way to train logical thinking is to keep a thought journal. Whenever you feel doubt, write down what triggered it and what your mind is telling you. Then examine each statement for truth. Ask, "Is this absolutely true? What proof do I have?" This process separates imagination from reality. For example, if you write, "I'm not good enough for this," you might realize you've never actually tested that belief. You've just accepted it. Once you challenge those thoughts, they lose their power. Doubt thrives on unexamined thinking, but it weakens under analysis. Another part of replacing self-doubt is recognizing cognitive distortions, mental habits that twist reality. For example, all or nothing thinking makes you believe that anything less than perfection is failure. Catastrophizing makes you imagine the worst possible outcome and treat it as inevitable. Mind reading assumes you know what others think of you without evidence. When you catch yourself thinking this way, label it. Tell yourself, this is an exaggerated thought, not a fact. The simple act of naming a distortion weakens its influence. It reminds you that your thoughts are not absolute truth, they are interpretations that can be changed. Self-doubt often grows stronger in silence. When you isolate your thoughts, they echo louder. Talking through your fears with someone you trust can bring perspective. Others often see strengths you overlook. They can point out logic where emotion has clouded your vision. You don't need validation, you need perspective. A conversation can break the loop of repetitive negative thinking and remind you that uncertainty is normal, not proof of failure. When you bring your doubts into the light, they stop feeling so heavy. Daily mental clarity also depends on your environment. The more chaos around you, the more likely your mind will reflect it. Simplify your surroundings to reduce unnecessary mental noise. Keep your workspace organized and your routines structured. When your external world is calm, your internal reasoning becomes sharper. You think better in order, not confusion. This doesn't mean avoiding challenges, it means creating a foundation where your mind can think clearly without being distracted by clutter or constant stimulation. To replace self-doubt, you must learn to separate effort from outcome. Many people tie their self-worth to results, and when things don't go as planned, they question their value. But confidence in reasoning means understanding that failure does not equal incompetence, it is simply feedback. Logic teaches you that outcomes are influenced by many variables, some within your control and some not. When you view results as information, not judgment, you remain objective. You can analyze what worked and what didn't without emotional collapse. This rational mindset keeps your confidence stable even when circumstances fluctuate. Another effective practice is visualization based on logic rather than fantasy. Instead of imagining success as an abstract dream, mentally rehearse the steps that lead to it. Picture yourself doing the work, solving problems, and adapting to challenges. This form of visualization builds realism instead of illusion. It prepares your mind to act strategically instead of wishfully. When your mental imagery is grounded in process, not perfection, self-doubt loses its hold. You start to feel confident not because you expect everything to go smoothly, but because you've mentally prepared to handle whatever happens. Self-doubt often stems from comparing yourself to others. Logic eliminates this by reminding you that comparison is irrational. No two lives have the same circumstances, timing, or experiences. Judging your progress against someone else's is like comparing two different paths with different destinations. Clear thinking focuses on personal growth, not external measurement. Each person's timeline is unique. When you think logically about this, you stop competing with others and start competing with your past self. This shift brings peace and focus. You become more interested in getting better than in proving yourself. To sustain clear thinking daily, you must develop routines that strengthen rational focus. Start your mornings with mental order. Plan your day with intention and list your priorities in order of importance. When you organize your thoughts, you prevent confusion from turning into anxiety. In the evening, review what went well and what can be improved. This daily reflection keeps your reasoning active and your emotions balanced. A structured mind is a calm mind, and a calm mind makes sound decisions. Sleep, nutrition, and rest also influence clarity. Fatigue magnifies doubt. When you're tired, small problems feel larger, and logical thinking becomes harder. Taking care of your body is part of taking care of your mind. Clarity needs energy. When your body is nourished and rested, you process information more effectively. You make rational choices instead of emotional ones. Self-doubt often hides in exhaustion, so maintaining physical balance keeps your reasoning strong. Another technique to replace self-doubt is to practice self-talk that is both kind and rational. People often speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to others. When you hear your inner critic say something harsh, pause and respond logically. For example, if you think, "I always mess things up," replace it with, "That's not true. I've succeeded in many things before." If you think, "I'll never improve," answer with, "I can improve through practice and effort." This kind of self-dialogue teaches your brain to respond with reason instead of automatic negativity. Over time, this becomes your default thinking pattern. Clarity also grows from slowing down your reactions. When something goes wrong, resist the urge to jump to conclusions. Take a breath and observe before you decide what it means. Most of what you worry about is not as serious as it first appears. By giving yourself a moment of mental distance, you allow logic to catch up with emotion. That small gap between event and interpretation is where wisdom grows. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You stop reacting and start responding. Finally, remember that doubt will never disappear completely. It will visit you at every new stage of growth, but with practice, it will no longer control you. Each time you choose logic over fear, you weaken the habit of doubt. Each time you question a limiting belief, you reclaim mental freedom. Over time, clear thinking becomes your protection against confusion and insecurity. You stop needing to feel certain before taking action because you've learned that logic and effort will guide you through uncertainty. That is true confidence, not the absence of fear, but the ability to think clearly in its presence. Replacing self-doubt with logical thinking is not about becoming emotionless. It's about using your emotions wisely. Feelings can inform you, but they should not control you. Logic gives them context. It shows you that fear can coexist with strength and that uncertainty can live beside action. When you think clearly every day, you begin to trust your own judgment. You rely less on reassurance and more on reason. You stop underestimating yourself because you see life as it is, not as your doubts describe it. The more you live this way, the more freedom you gain. Freedom from overthinking, from hesitation, from the inner noise that clouds your decisions. You begin to see yourself as capable, composed, and rational. And when your mind becomes guided by clarity, every challenge becomes manageable because you no longer fight yourself. Chapter 5. Take control of your emotions to make better decisions. Emotions are powerful forces that shape how you think, act, and decide. They can guide you toward clarity or push you into chaos depending on how you handle them. Every day, decisions are made, not just by reason, but by emotional influence, anger, fear, excitement, or sadness. These feelings can either support your judgment or distort it. Taking control of your emotions does not mean suppressing them. It means understanding them, managing them, and using them wisely. The person who can stay emotionally balanced in moments of pressure always makes stronger, clearer, and wiser decisions. When your emotions lead you, decisions are reactive. When you lead your emotions, decisions become intentional. To take control of your emotions, you must first understand what triggers them. Emotional reactions are not random, they come from thoughts, memories, and beliefs that live beneath the surface. When someone criticizes you and you feel anger rise, it is not just their words that hurt you, but the interpretation your mind attaches to them. You may think, "They don't respect me," or "I'm not good enough." Those interpretations fuel the emotional response. When you learn to identify that inner dialogue, you begin to separate the event from the meaning your mind gives it. This separation is the foundation of emotional control. You cannot manage what you haven't understood, and you cannot understand what you do not observe. Observation is the first tool of mastery. The next time you feel overwhelmed, pause and notice what is happening inside you. Don't fight the emotion or deny it. Just name it. Say to yourself, "This is frustration," or "This is fear." Naming emotion brings awareness, and awareness brings choice. The moment you name what you feel, you create distance in between yourself and the emotion. You stop being consumed by it and start seeing it as a signal. Emotions are messengers. They tell you something about your inner state or your environment. Anger may mean you feel your boundaries are being crossed. Fear may mean uncertainty about the future. Sadness may indicate loss or unmet expectations. When you treat emotions as information, not identity, you move from reaction to reflection. Emotional control does not mean you stop feeling deeply. It means you stop letting feelings decide your behavior. Strong emotions can coexist with rational action when you train yourself to pause before responding. Most bad decisions happen in the gap between emotion and action. Someone feels insulted and speaks in anger. Someone feels anxious and makes a rushed choice. Someone feels excited and commits without thinking. But when you give yourself a moment to breathe, observe, and analyze, you reclaim power. That small pause is where wisdom lives. It gives of your logical mind a chance to evaluate instead of being overrun by impulse. The more often you pause before reacting, the more emotionally intelligent you become. To make better decisions, you must learn to regulate the physical side of emotion. When you are angry or fearful, your body reacts before your mind does. Your heart races, your breathing quickens, your muscles tighten. These physical changes influence how you think. Deep breathing, controlled movement, and posture correction calm the body and allow the mind to think clearly again. A simple practice is to take slow breaths in through your nose, hold for a moment, and exhale slowly through your mouth. This pattern signals to your nervous system that you are safe. Once your body settles, your reasoning improves, and your emotional intensity decreases. You don't have to fight emotions, you just have to steady your body so your thoughts can catch up. A common mistake is believing that emotions must be avoided to stay in control. But emotions serve an important purpose. They provide direction, motivation, and depth to experience. The goal is not to remove them, but to channel them. When you feel fear, it can remind you to prepare better. When you feel anger, it can signal a need to set boundaries. When you feel joy, it can confirm that you are aligned with your values. Control comes from listening to what the emotion is teaching you without letting it dictate your choices. You must be both listener and leader of your emotions. You acknowledge their message, then decide what to do with it. Taking control of emotions also means not letting other people's emotions manipulate your decisions. Many times, people act based on how others make them feel, instead of what they know is right. You might agree to something just to avoid conflict or react harshly to someone's frustration. Emotional control protects you from being swayed by external moods. When others lose their composure, you maintain yours. That calmness gives you perspective and influence. In tense situations, people naturally look to the person who stays grounded. Your ability to remain emotionally steady gives you the advantage, not because you are detached, but because you are composed. To strengthen emotional control, practice delaying your response in emotionally charged moments. When someone says something upsetting, do not reply immediately. Let silence work for you. This delay gives your mind space to cool down and think clearly. If the situation allows, walk away and revisit it later. A few minutes of reflection can prevent hours of regret. The person who controls the pace of a conversation controls the tone. You do not owe anyone a reaction. You owe yourself a decision rooted in clarity. Emotional balance is also maintained through consistent self-care. When you are mentally and physically exhausted, emotions become harder to manage. Sleep deprivation, poor nutrition, and constant stress reduce emotional intolerance. That's why balanced living is not luxury, it's strategy. Taking care of your well-being creates stability that strengthens your decision-making. When your mind is rested and your body is healthy, emotions flow more smoothly and your reactions are less extreme. You can't think clearly on an empty tank. Recharging your energy is part of emotional discipline. Another practice that builds emotional intelligence is reframing situations. When something happens that triggers you, ask yourself how else you could view it. Instead of thinking, "They disrespected me," consider, "Maybe they were speaking from frustration." Instead of saying, "This is a disaster," say, "This is difficult, but I can handle it." Reframing changes your perspective, and perspective changes your emotional response. It's not about pretending everything is positive, it's about seeing reality from multiple angles. The broader your view, the calmer your emotions. The calmer your emotions, the wiser your decisions. To deepen emotional control, you must learn the difference between what you can control and what you cannot. Many emotional struggles come from trying to manage outcomes, people, or circumstances beyond your influence. You cannot control other people's opinions or behavior, but you can control your reaction to them. You cannot stop challenges from coming, but you can decide how you face them. Focus your energy on what is within your reach. Every time you redirect your attention from the uncontrollable to the controllable, you reclaim peace. That peace becomes a foundation for clear thinking and solid decision-making. Emotions also have a memory. They are influenced by past experiences, often long forgotten but deeply rooted. When you find yourself overreacting, it may be because the current situation reminds you of an old wound. Awareness of this connection helps you separate the past from the present. Tell yourself, "This emotion is stronger because it's attached to something old." That recognition instantly softens its intensity. Emotional awareness is not about removing feeling, it's about placing it in context. When you understand why you feel something, you can manage it without letting it distort your judgment. Taking control of your emotions also requires humility. You must be willing to admit when emotion has clouded your reasoning. Everyone loses composure at times. What matters is how quickly you return to balance. When you notice that you acted impulsively, reflect on it calmly. Ask yourself what triggered the reaction and what you could do differently next time. This self-review turns mistakes into training. Each reflection strengthens awareness, and each correction improves control. Over time, emotional regulation becomes second nature. You no longer get lost in emotional storms, you navigate through them. Another aspect of emotional mastery is knowing when to detach. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means perspective. When you detach from an emotion, you observe it without becoming it. If anger rises, you recognize it, but don't let it drive your next words. If fear appears, you see it, but don't let it define your choice. Detachment gives you room to think. It reminds you that emotions are temporary, while decisions have lasting impact. The person who can step back from emotion, even briefly, always sees the situation more clearly than the one who acts in haste. Good decision-making requires calm evaluation, and calm evaluation requires emotional discipline. When you act from anger, you exaggerate problems. When you act from fear, you underestimate your ability. When you act from joy alone, you may overlook risks. Emotion can distort logic in both directions. Balance comes from integrating feeling with thought. Before making any important choice, ask yourself two questions. What am I feeling right now? And, is this feeling helping or hindering my judgment? This small mental check prevents emotional bias from taking over. It brings awareness back to the driver's seat. Finally, emotional control leads to self-respect. When you master your reactions, you earn trust from yourself. You know you will not betray your values in a moment of weakness. You stop regretting words spoken in anger or choices made in panic. You begin to move through life with steadiness, making decisions that reflect clarity instead of chaos. People around you notice the difference. They see composure where others see conflict. This kind of control is not cold or detached. It is calm and deliberate. It shows strength without aggression, confidence without arrogance, and wisdom without pride. Taking control of your emotions is not a single skill, it's a lifelong discipline. It means facing yourself honestly, observing your reactions without judgment, and choosing response over impulse. It is the art of holding peace in the middle of pressure, and, when you master it, you gain something priceless: freedom. Freedom from overreaction, from regret, from being controlled by what you feel. You become the kind of person who can think clearly when others cannot. You make decisions not out of fear or frustration, but out of understanding and balance. That level of control transforms not just your choices, but your entire life. Because when you control your emotions, you don't just make better decisions, you create a better direction for your future. Chapter 6. Create a strong vision and act with consistent discipline. A strong vision gives direction to your life. It defines where you are going and why your actions matter. Without vision, effort feels scattered and meaningless. You can work hard every day and still feel lost because you have no clear idea of what your work is leading toward. Vision is the blueprint of your future, the structure that gives purpose to your daily actions. When you have it, discipline becomes easier because you know what you are working for. It is not enough to simply want improvement. You must see what that improvement looks like. A strong vision turns vague hope into focused movement. It gives you something to aim at and reminds you that every small step has meaning. Creating a vision begins with honest reflection. You must ask yourself what truly matters to you, not what others expect, not what the world praises, but what aligns with your core values. Many people drift because they chase goals that do not belong to them. They follow trends, approval, or comparison, and end up feeling empty, even when they succeed. To create a strong vision, you must go deep. Ask questions like, what kind of life do I want to live? What kind of person do I want to become? And what impact do I want to have? The answers to these questions form the foundation of vision. When you know what gives your life meaning, every decision gains direction. A vision should be specific but flexible. You do not need to predict every detail of your future. You need a clear sense of direction. Imagine it like a compass. It doesn't tell you every step, but it ensures you move the right way. Write your vision in clear language. Describe it as if it already exists. This act turns thoughts into commitment. When you write something down, it stops being abstract. It becomes something you can read, review, and refine. The more clearly you can describe your vision, the easier it becomes to align your actions with it. A vague dream creates confusion. A defined vision creates purpose. Once you have a vision, the next challenge is consistent discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and results. It is what keeps you moving when excitement fades. Most people struggle not because they lack ambition, but because they lack consistency. They start strong but stop when progress slows or discomfort rises. Consistency demands emotional maturity. It means showing up even when motivation disappears. It means doing what needs to be done, not just what feels good. Discipline transforms desire into reality. It is the practice of choosing long-term purpose over short-term comfort. The connection between vision and discipline is powerful. Vision provides meaning, and discipline provides movement. One without the other is incomplete. Vision without discipline is fantasy. Discipline without vision is directionless effort. When both work together, you become unstoppable. Each day becomes a step toward something bigger, and your progress compounds quietly over time. Success rarely comes from a single breakthrough. It comes from small, consistent actions guided by a clear purpose. The person who keeps showing up, guided by vision, will always move further than the person who acts only when it's easy. To build consistent discipline, start by simplifying your commitments. Too many goals divide focus and drain energy. Choose a few priorities that align directly with your vision. If something doesn't serve your long-term direction, reduce it or remove it. Simplicity strengthens consistency. When your focus is narrow, your progress is faster. Write down your daily actions that connect directly to your vision. These actions are your non-negotiables, the habits that must be completed regardless of mood or circumstance. Over time, these small disciplines become part of your identity. You stop needing to push yourself because consistency becomes automatic. A powerful strategy for maintaining discipline is to set clear systems instead of relying on motivation. Motivation is temporary. Systems are reliable. A system is a routine that removes decision fatigue. For example, if your vision involves health, schedule workouts at the same time each day. If your goal is learning, set a fixed period daily for study. Systems protect discipline from emotion. They make action a default, not a decision. When your life is structured around purpose, discipline feels natural, not forced. Each system is a reminder that consistency is built through design, not inspiration. Another way to strengthen discipline is to track progress visually. Humans respond to evidence. When you can see your improvement, you are more likely to continue. Keep a record of your daily actions, whether through journaling or a checklist. Each completed task becomes proof of discipline. The brain releases satisfaction when progress is visible, reinforcing the habit. This is not about perfection, it's about direction. Even small wins, when tracked, build momentum. Over time, these records become a history of resilience, a visible reminder of how discipline shaped your growth. Discipline also requires patience. Most visions take longer to achieve than expected. The gap between where you are and where you want to be can feel discouraging, especially when results are slow. Patience turns that gap into training. Every delay is a chance to strengthen persistence. Each time you continue without visible reward, you prove that your motivation is internal. People often quit because they mistake slow progress for failure, but slow progress is progress nonetheless. The disciplined mind understands that growth is not measured in speed but in direction. As long as you are moving forward, you are succeeding. To stay consistent, you must learn to manage distractions. Every distraction steals time and mental energy from your vision. It might come in the form of social media, unnecessary tasks, or unproductive conversations. Each time you give attention to something irrelevant, you weaken discipline. The solution is awareness. Before you act, ask, does this serve my vision? If the answer is no, walk away. Protecting focus is an act of respect for your purpose. You cannot control every interruption, but you can control how much attention you give to it. The more you guard your attention, the more powerful your discipline becomes. A strong vision also depends on emotional connection. You must feel what your vision means to you. Logic defines it, but emotion fuels it. Spend time visualizing what achieving your vision would look and feel like. Imagine the satisfaction of living that reality. This emotional connection strengthens resilience when things get difficult. When you feel connected to your purpose, quitting no longer feels like an option. You begin to act not out of obligation, but out of alignment with who you want to become. That emotional bond between your vision and your discipline is what keeps you moving when nothing else does. You also need to revisit your vision regularly. As you grow, your perspective changes and your goals evolve. Reviewing your vision keeps it alive. Read it often. Reflect on whether it still feels authentic. Adjust if necessary. Vision is not a fixed destination, it's a living direction. Each stage of life may demand a different expression of your purpose, but the core remains the same. Reconnecting with it reminds you why you started. It keeps your actions anchored in meaning rather than habit alone. Accountability is another essential part of discipline. When you hold yourself responsible, you maintain integrity with your own word. Accountability can come through journaling, reflection, or sharing your goals with a trusted person. The purpose is not punishment, but awareness. It reminds you that discipline is a promise to yourself. Every time you follow through, you strengthen self-trust. Every time you break a promise, you weaken it. Consistency is not about perfection, it's about returning to discipline after each lapse. The person who resumes quickly after failure is more disciplined than the one who never faces difficulty. Self-discipline is often misunderstood as restriction, but it is actually liberation. When you are disciplined, you are free from the control of impulse and chaos. You stop being at the mercy of emotion or circumstance. You act by choice, not by habit. You design your days around purpose, not distraction. This freedom gives life a sense of order and confidence. It turns effort into progress and progress into fulfillment. Discipline does not take joy away. It gives joy depth because your achievements are earned, not accidental. Creating a strong vision and acting with consistent discipline transforms not only what you do but who you become. You begin to live intentionally instead of reactively. You no longer chase temporary satisfaction because you understand the value of lasting progress. Each disciplined day builds your future quietly. Each time you stay loyal to your vision, you reinforce your strength. There will always be moments of doubt, fatigue, or distraction, but your vision will bring you back. It becomes your internal compass, the reminder of why you started and where you are going. In time, your vision and your discipline will merge into identity. You will no longer need to force yourself to act. Your actions will flow naturally from who you are. You will make choices that align with your direction without hesitation. The person who lives with vision and consistency does not chase opportunity, they attract it. They radiate purpose, confidence, and control. Every meaningful change in life begins with a clear vision and steady discipline. Vision shows you what's possible. Discipline makes it real. When you unite both, you stop drifting and start designing your future. You no longer hope for progress, you become the cause of it. Chapter 7. Learn from failure and use it to grow stronger. Failure is one of life's most effective teachers. It exposes weaknesses, tests patience, and demands reflection. While most people avoid it, those who learn from it find power that success alone can never offer. Failure, when approached with the right mindset, becomes a guide rather than an enemy. It shows you what doesn't work, but more importantly, it teaches you who you are under pressure. Every setback carries information that can move you forward if you're willing to examine it honestly. Growth begins not when you avoid failure, but when you understand how to use it as a foundation for strength. The problem is that many people treat failure as a personal verdict instead of a natural part of progress. They see it as proof that they are incapable rather than evidence that they are learning. This mindset causes paralysis. Once someone associates failure with shame, they start avoiding risk altogether. They play safe, aim small, and settle for mediocrity. The truth is that no one grows without mistakes. Every great inventor, athlete, or thinker has a long history of failed attempts behind every success. The difference between those who rise and those who stop is interpretation. One group sees failure as final, the other sees it as feedback. When you fail, your emotions will naturally react first. You may feel frustration, disappointment, or even embarrassment. These reactions are normal, but they must not become permanent. The first step after failure is emotional control. Give yourself space to process what happened without judgment. It's not about ignoring how you feel. It's about preventing emotion from turning into identity. You are not your mistakes. You are the lessons they offer. Once the emotion settles, you can shift from reaction to reflection. This transition is crucial because reflection transforms failure from pain into wisdom. Ask yourself simple but powerful questions. What went wrong? What part of this was in my control? What could I have done differently? What did this experience teach me about my approach or my mindset? These questions open the door to growth. Most people avoid them because they require honesty, but without honest reflection, the same mistakes repeat. Learning from failure demands courage, the courage to look directly at the truth without ego. When you stop defending yourself and start understanding yourself, failure turns from an enemy into a teacher. Reflection is not enough without action. Once you identify the lesson, apply it. Adjust your method, your timing, your preparation, or your mindset. Change one small thing based on what you've learned, then move forward. That small adjustment is what turns failure into improvement. The worst mistake after failure is inaction. Many people sit in regret, replaying the past, instead of using what they learned to shape the future. You cannot change the event, but you can change your response to it. That response determines whether the experience weakens or strengthens you. Growth through failure also requires perspective. When you view failure as proof that something is wrong with you, you limit your potential. When you see it as part of learning, you expand it. Every skill, every success, every breakthrough comes from trial and error. A child learning to walk falls repeatedly, but never questions their ability to succeed. They simply keep trying. Adults forget this truth because they attach identity to outcome. They begin to believe that falling means they are not capable, but failure has no meaning except the one you give it. The moment you interpret it as progress, it stops being discouraging and starts being motivating. You can train your mind to anticipate failure as part of the process. Before you begin something new, remind yourself that mistakes will happen. This prepares your emotions for reality. When failure occurs, it doesn't feel like a surprise, it feels like data. This mental preparation makes you resilient. It prevents shock, blame, and self-pity. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I learn from this?" That small shift keeps your mind moving forward instead of getting stuck in regret. It's important to remember that growth is rarely visible immediately after failure. The progress often happens quietly inside you through understanding, adaptation, and renewed effort. It might not feel like improvement, but each reflection, each correction, and each new attempt shapes a stronger version of you. You start to see patterns, anticipate problems, and make better choices. What once felt like a loss becomes the very thing that builds your endurance. Another critical part of learning from failure is separating outcome from effort. You can do everything right and still not get the result you want. Life is influenced by timing, external factors, and unpredictability. That does not make your effort meaningless. Evaluate your process, not just your result. Ask whether your actions were aligned with your goals and whether your preparation matched the challenge. If your process was solid, continue refining it. If not, identify what to adjust. This keeps your confidence stable even when results fluctuate. Resilience is built by refusing to let one failure define your limits. Each time you recover and try again, you strengthen mental endurance. This endurance becomes the foundation for long-term success. People who quit after a setback never experience the growth that persistence brings. Those who continue despite difficulty develop a deep trust in themselves, the belief that no matter what happens, they can adapt, learn, and improve. This trust is one of the greatest rewards of failure. It teaches you that your worth is not tied to outcomes, but to effort and perseverance. You can also turn failure into motivation by using it as contrast. Remember how it feels to stumble and use that memory as fuel to push harder next time, not out of anger, but out of commitment. Pain is temporary, but the strength gained from facing it is permanent. Every time you transform disappointment into determination, you reinforce your resilience. It becomes a cycle of empowerment rather than defeat. Failure also refines humility. It reminds you that you are always a student, no matter how skilled or experienced you become. This humility keeps your mind open. When you accept that you don't know everything, you remain teachable. That openness invites new strategies, ideas, and opportunities. People who fear failure often close their minds to growth. They protect their ego instead of improving their skill. But humility invites wisdom, and wisdom prevents repeated mistakes. Another important part of learning from failure is avoiding self-blame. Taking responsibility does not mean carrying guilt. Guilt drains energy, while responsibility creates direction. You cannot change the past, but you can control how you use it. When you fail, take ownership of what's yours, but release what isn't. If external factors contributed, note them and prepare for next time. Responsibility should feel empowering, not punishing. It is a tool for growth, not a weapon of self-criticism. Your environment also influences how you recover from failure. Surround yourself with people who view mistakes as lessons, not as signs of weakness. Encouraging voices remind you that setbacks are temporary. Negative environments magnify self-doubt and discourage persistence. Choose companions who discuss solutions instead of failures, and their mindset will strengthen yours. You don't need to hide your mistakes. You need to learn from them openly. When you normalize learning through error, failure loses its stigma. Consistency after failure is where transformation happens. Anyone can start again once, but true growth comes from continuous effort. The ability to return again and again, each time wiser, separates growth from stagnation. Every time you rise after falling, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than circumstance. You don't have to start over from zero. You start from experience. That accumulated knowledge gives you an advantage over those who never tried. Failure resets your direction but not your capability. Reflection, adjustment, and persistence create a pattern that slowly builds mastery. As you continue, your relationship with failure changes. You stop fearing it and start using it strategically. You begin to anticipate what could go wrong, not with anxiety but with readiness. Each challenge becomes a test of application rather than a threat to your confidence. You no longer see mistakes as losses, they become measurements of growth. In time, you realize that failure is not a setback but a filter. It separates those who truly want progress from those who only want comfort. The ones who keep going after failing develop strength that can't be taught in theory. They earn wisdom through experience, and that wisdom becomes the foundation for future success. When you have failed enough times, you stop panicking under pressure because you've already learned how to rebuild. You carry calmness, patience, and clarity that others lack. To grow stronger from failure, you must also learn to forgive yourself. Forgiveness frees your focus. You cannot learn from what you're still punishing yourself for. Accept that imperfection is part of being human. The point of failing is not to suffer, it's to evolve. When you forgive yourself, you open mental space for learning instead of regret. That shift allows you to take constructive action. The ultimate strength that comes from failure is self-awareness. You learn your patterns, your weaknesses, and your limits. But more importantly, you learn your resilience, creativity, and endurance. You discover that falling does not break you. It rebuilds you into someone wiser and more capable. Each setback leaves behind a layer of understanding that cannot be gained any other way. Over time, you stop asking, "How can I avoid failure?" and start asking, "What can I learn next?" Failure loses its sting when you understand its purpose. It is not a signal to stop, it is a sign to grow. The person who learns from failure becomes unshakable because they no longer fear the process of trying again. They see each attempt as part of evolution. Growth, by its very nature, demands discomfort. If you are learning, you will fail. If you keep learning from it, you will rise. The goal is not perfection, it is progression. Every mistake refines your direction, strengthens your discipline, and deepens your understanding. In the end, those who embrace failure do not just survive challenges, they transform through them. And that transformation becomes the very definition of strength. Chapter 8. Simplify your goals to sharpen your mental clarity. Clarity is one of the most valuable assets a person can have. A clear mind produces confident decisions, focused action, and inner peace. Yet, in a world of endless options, many people overwhelm themselves with too many goals, too many directions, and too much noise. They confuse busyness with progress and activity with achievement. When your attention is divided, your energy weakens. You end up doing many things poorly, instead of doing a few things with excellence. Simplifying your goals is not about limiting your ambition, it's about sharpening your effectiveness. It means cutting away what is unnecessary so your mind can focus on what truly matters. When your goals are scattered, your thoughts become scattered too. Every unfinished idea and unstarted plan takes up mental space. You think about what you should be doing, what you haven't done, and what you might do someday. The result is mental fog. The brain is not designed to carry too many open loops. The first step to clarity is deciding what deserves your attention. You can't do everything, and you don't need to. Simplification begins with selection. You must ask yourself, what are the few goals that will create the greatest impact in my life right now? Those become your true priorities. Everything else becomes background noise. Simplifying goals starts with being brutally honest about your motives. Many people set goals based on ego, comparison, or fear of missing out. They chase multiple targets to prove worth rather than to build meaning. But goals, created from insecurity, drain energy. Goals born from purpose create focus. When you simplify, you strip away goals that belong to other people's expectations and keep only the ones that align with your values. You might realize that what you truly want is not more but better health, better relationships, better peace of mind. When your goals reflect who you really are, clarity replaces confusion. Clarity requires focus, and focus demands sacrifice. Every yes you say to something important requires a no to something else. Many people resist this truth because they want to keep all options open. But indecision is the enemy of progress. When you commit to a few essential goals, you free yourself from constant choice fatigue. You no longer waste time debating what to do next. Your energy goes directly into action. The sharper your focus, the stronger your momentum. You move from scattered effort to concentrated force, and that shift changes everything. To simplify effectively, break your goals into clear, measurable actions. Vague intentions create stress because they give the mind nothing solid to work with. Instead of saying, "I want to be healthier," define what that means, perhaps exercising for 30 minutes daily or eating balanced meals 5 days a week. Specific goals simplify mental load. The brain prefers clarity over ambiguity. When you know exactly what you need to do, you eliminate internal hesitation. Every small concrete step builds confidence, and confidence reduces mental clutter. Mental clarity also comes from organizing your goals into priorities. Not everything matters equally. Some actions have a greater impact on your progress than others. The key is to identify the few things that move the needle most. A simple rule is to focus on 3 main goals at a time, no more. Within those goals, choose one top priority for the day. That one task becomes your primary focus until it's complete. This practice eliminates multitasking, which splits attention and reduces performance. When you give full focus to one thing, your work becomes deeper, faster, and more meaningful. Simplifying your goals also helps you regain control over time. When you have too many commitments, time feels like an enemy. You rush, multitask, and constantly feel behind. But when your goals are simplified, you create breathing room. You stop racing through your day and start living deliberately. You begin to enjoy the process instead of just chasing the outcome. Time expands when your mind is not juggling unnecessary weight. You realize that peace does not come from doing more, but from doing what matters most. Mental clarity is not only about what you pursue, but also about what you release. Some goals may no longer serve your current path. They might have made sense in the past, but now distract you from your true direction. Holding on to outdated goals is like carrying luggage you no longer need. Letting go creates space for better focus. Review your goals regularly and ask, does this still align with who I am and where I want to go? If not, set it down. Simplifying your vision does not mean failure, it means maturity. It shows that you understand the difference between persistence and misdirection. Your environment influences how well you can focus on simplified goals. A cluttered space often mirrors a cluttered mind. If your surroundings are filled with distractions, you will constantly struggle to maintain clarity. Keep your physical and digital spaces organized. Eliminate unnecessary items that serve no purpose. Clean spaces promote clean thinking. When your environment supports focus, your goals become easier to manage. You think more clearly, act more efficiently, and feel more composed. Another way to sharpen mental clarity is to limit external input. The more information you consume, the harder it becomes to hear your own thoughts. Constant exposure to other people's opinions, achievements, and priorities can make you lose sight of your own. You start chasing what looks important instead of what feels important. Reduce mental noise by setting boundaries around information. Spend less time scrolling and more time reflecting. Quiet the world enough to hear your own intentions clearly. Solitude helps you refine what matters most. Simplification also involves managing your own energy, not just your time. Every task you take on requires mental and emotional energy. If you spread yourself thin, you drain your reserves and lose clarity. The mind cannot think clearly when it is tired. Focus on quality of effort instead of quantity of effort. Ask yourself each day, what task deserves my best energy today? Give your peak attention to that and let the rest follow later. When you manage energy with intention, you achieve more with less strain. Simplified goals build consistency. Complex plans often lead to hesitation because they feel overwhelming. When goals are clear and simple, you remove barriers to action. The smaller and more specific the steps, the easier it becomes to repeat them daily. Repetition builds rhythm, and rhythm builds mastery. The mind thrives on patterns. When your goals are straightforward, you train your brain to focus without overthinking. That mental simplicity leads to steady progress and reduced stress. To sustain clarity, you must protect your focus from distraction disguised as opportunity. Not every good idea deserves your attention. Some opportunities appear valuable but pull you away from your primary direction. Learning to say no is a form of discipline. Every no strengthens your yes. When you decline distractions, you reinforce commitment to what truly matters. The most successful people are not those who do everything, they are those who focus on a few things with complete dedication. You can also simplify your goals by aligning them with your natural strengths. Many people waste time forcing themselves to work in areas that don't match their abilities. This creates frustration and confusion. When you align your goals with your talents and interests, progress feels natural. You still need discipline, but effort becomes more efficient. Clarity grows when you work from your strengths instead of against them. You gain confidence because you see consistent results, and that reinforces focus. Another benefit of simplifying goals is emotional stability. When you pursue too many things, you constantly feel behind. This creates anxiety and self-doubt. Simplification reduces that noise. You no longer measure your worth by how much you do, but by how well you do what matters most. Each completed task brings a sense of accomplishment instead of exhaustion. Peace replaces pressure. Clarity creates emotional balance because you know exactly where your energy should go and why. Reflection is a powerful tool for maintaining mental clarity. Take time weekly to review what's working and what's not. Ask yourself whether your current actions are aligned with your main goals. Reflection prevents drift. It keeps you grounded in purpose and aware of when to adjust. The clearer you are about your direction, the more resilient you become in the face of distraction. Regular self-assessment is how clarity stays alive. Simplifying goals also makes success more attainable. Big visions can feel intimidating, but when you divide them into smaller, achievable steps, you reduce fear. Each small victory builds momentum and confidence. You stop being overwhelmed by the size of the dream and start focusing on the next meaningful step. This approach removes pressure and replaces it with progress. It reminds you that simplicity is not the absence of ambition, it's the path to achieving it with precision. Over time, you'll notice that simplification brings freedom. You no longer waste energy on trivial decisions or unimportant pursuits. You think more clearly, work more effectively, and feel lighter. Your mind becomes a calm, focused space instead of a chaotic battlefield. Simplicity is not a lack of effort. It is concentrated effort. It is the art of directing your limited time and energy toward what produces the greatest return. When your goals are simple and aligned, your clarity deepens and your life gains direction. Simplifying your goals to sharpen mental clarity is ultimately about peace and power. Peace because you are no longer burdened by excess. Power because your actions become intentional and focused. You start to live with precision instead of confusion. Every day feels purposeful, not rushed. You make fewer decisions but better ones. You move through life with less noise and more meaning. Clarity gives you strength, and simplicity gives you control. When you combine the two, you not only accomplish more, you experience a calmer, more centered way of living that allows you to perform at your best and think with complete focus. Chapter 9. Protect your energy by mastering focus and self-control. Your energy is your most valuable resource. Every thought, decision, and action draws from it. When your energy is strong, you think clearly, act decisively, and handle challenges with confidence. When it's drained, even simple tasks feel heavy and confusing. Protecting your energy is not just about rest, it's about mastering focus and self-control so that you stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. The world around you constantly demands attention. Every distraction, argument, or impulse pulls a small piece of your power away. Mastering focus allows you to keep that power within your control. Self-control ensures that your actions reflect intention rather than reaction. Together, they create a balanced mind capable of consistent strength and peace. The first step to protecting your energy is awareness. You must become conscious of what drains you and what strengthens you. Most people lose energy not because of one big event, but because of constant small leaks, scrolling without purpose, worrying about others' opinions, overthinking past mistakes, or saying yes to things they don't truly want to do. These small leaks, repeated daily, exhaust mental and emotional reserves. Take time to identify what activities, people, and habits leave you feeling depleted. Awareness turns invisible losses into visible choices. Once you see where your energy goes, you can begin to redirect it. Focus is the ability to channel energy toward what truly matters. Without focus, your attention scatters across too many directions. You end up busy but not productive. To strengthen focus, you must train your mind to ignore noise. This means learning to say no, not just to others but to your own impulses. Every distraction feels small in the moment, but each one interrupts flow. The more you give in to distraction, the weaker your mental endurance becomes. Reclaiming focus begins with creating intentional boundaries. Set specific times for work, rest, and reflection. When you engage in one, commit fully. Doing one thing with presence is far more powerful than doing 10 things with half attention. Focus deepens energy. Distraction depletes it. Self-control is the companion of focus. While focus directs energy, self-control protects it. It is the discipline to resist impulses that conflict with your goals. Every time you choose patience over frustration, clarity over chaos, or discipline over indulgence, you strengthen your inner stability. Self-control is not about denial, it's about choice. It gives you authority over your emotions and urges, so they serve you instead of ruling you. You cannot have steady energy if your reactions are easily provoked. When every irritation pulls you into conflict, you lose mental balance. But when you learn to pause before reacting, you conserve power. Each moment of restraint is an act of strength. Your mental focus and emotional control are deeply connected to your physical state. Fatigue, poor nutrition, and lack of movement weaken willpower. When your body is drained, the mind loses sharpness. To protect your energy, treat your body as the foundation of focus. Rest well, eat nourishing food, move daily, and breathe deeply. These simple habits create mental clarity. A healthy body supports a disciplined mind. When your physical energy is stable, you can make better decisions, think longer, and stay composed under pressure. Energy management begins with respecting your limits and caring for your foundation. Protecting energy also means protecting attention from negativity. Not every conversation or situation deserves your mental presence. Some people feed on drama, conflict, or complaint, and engaging with them pulls you into unnecessary emotional storms. You cannot control others, but you can choose how much space they occupy in your mind. If something or someone consistently drains your peace, distance is wisdom, not weakness. Detachment does not mean indifference, it means prioritizing stability. Protect your energy by avoiding battles that have no value. Focus on building, not defending. Walk away from noise and spend your energy where it creates growth. Focus strengthens when you simplify your environment. A cluttered space invites distraction. Visual chaos sends constant signals to your brain, demanding an unnecessary attention. Keep your surroundings organized and calm. Create a space that encourages concentration. Whether it's your desk, your digital space, or your daily schedule, remove what doesn't serve your purpose. Simplifying the outer world helps quiet the inner one. When your environment supports your focus, self-control becomes easier. You stop fighting your surroundings and start using them as tools for clarity. To master focus, train your mind to stay present. Most energy is lost in the past or the future, regret, resentment, worry, or anticipation. The present moment is where power exists. Every time your mind drifts, gently bring it back to now. This practice builds mental endurance. It teaches your mind that focus is a choice, not a condition. Even small daily moments of mindfulness strengthen concentration. Whether you're eating, walking, or working, give full attention to what you're doing. The more you practice presence, the less scattered your energy becomes. Self-control grows through consistency. Every time you resist an impulse, you build discipline. Each act of restraint strengthens your ability to stay centered in chaos. This requires patience because mastery is built gradually. You won't control every reaction overnight, but awareness is progress. When you slip, reflect without judgment. Ask yourself what triggered the reaction and how you can respond differently next time. Each reflection refines control. With time, emotional regulation becomes natural. You no longer need to force calmness, it becomes who you are. One of the greatest ways to protect energy is by managing mental input. Information overload weakens focus. The mind becomes overstimulated, jumping from one topic to another without depth. You cannot think clearly when your attention is constantly hijacked by new content. Limit exposure to unnecessary information. Choose what you read, watch, and listen to with intention. Consume content that nourishes rather than drains. Silence and solitude are not empty, they are spaces where your mind resets. Just as the body needs rest to recover, the mind needs quiet to recharge. Energy also depends on how you handle internal dialogue. Negative self-talk drains more energy than any external challenge. When you constantly criticize yourself, you create internal resistance. You fight battles that exist only in your mind. To protect energy, replace self-criticism with realistic reasoning. When you make a mistake, don't attack yourself. Analyze it calmly and move forward. Speak to yourself with firmness and respect as you would to someone you care about. Encouraging thoughts fuel persistence. Doubt and guilt weaken focus. Your inner voice is either your strongest ally or your greatest distraction. To maintain focus, manage your daily rhythm. Energy fluctuates throughout the day. Pay attention to when you feel most alert and schedule your most demanding tasks then. Protect those hours from interruption. During low energy periods, do lighter work or rest. This rhythm respects your natural flow and maximizes efficiency. Trying to maintain constant output leads to burnout. True focus requires recovery. Breaks are not laziness, they are investments in sustainability. Just as muscles need rest after exertion, your mind needs intervals of stillness to stay strong. Boundaries are another form of energy protection. Without them, others will decide how you use your time. You must learn to say no without guilt. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something meaningful. Boundaries preserve focus by keeping distractions away from your attention. They also maintain emotional balance by preventing overload. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it's strategic. It allows you to show up fully where you choose to be, rather than being half-present everywhere. Focus and self-control also protect your emotional energy from unnecessary reaction. When you get drawn into arguments or complaints, you give away control of your inner state. Not every situation deserves a response. Silence is often a stronger decision than defense. Choose calm over chaos, not to avoid confrontation, but to preserve peace. Energy spent proving your point is energy lost from progress. Train your mind to prioritize inner stability over external validation. You do not need to win every argument, you only need to stay aligned with your purpose. Another element of protecting energy is aligning your actions with your values. When your daily behavior conflicts with what you believe in, internal friction arises. That friction exhausts you mentally and emotionally. Living with integrity brings clarity and peace. When your actions match your principles, you stop wasting energy on internal conflict. You become steady because you are consistent. Integrity simplifies life. It removes the tension between who you are and what you do. Alignment creates power. Contradiction drains it. Focus becomes stronger through intention. Each morning, decide what deserves your attention that day. Set a clear objective and remind yourself of it whenever your mind drifts. This practice keeps your thoughts anchored. It turns your attention into a tool instead of a liability. Over time, you'll notice that you accomplish more by doing less. Your days will feel structured, not chaotic. That's the effect of focus. It gives meaning to time. Without it, hours pass unnoticed. With it, even small moments become productive and peaceful. Protecting energy also means practicing emotional detachment from outcomes. You can control your effort, not the result. When you tie your emotional state to results, you create unnecessary stress. Self-control teaches you to give your best without demanding perfection. Focus on what you can influence, then release what you cannot. This mindset conserves mental energy and keeps you grounded. The more you detach from results, the more consistently you perform. Detachment is not indifference, it's stability. In the end, mastering focus and self-control is not about becoming rigid or emotionless. It's about becoming deliberate. It's about recognizing that your energy is finite and must be used wisely. Every decision, reaction, and distraction either builds or drains it. When you protect it, you protect your peace, your purpose, and your potential. You start living from the inside out, no longer pushed by noise, but guided by clarity. Focus gives direction to your mind, and self-control gives strength to your character. Together, they create balance, a state where you are calm but powerful, productive but centered, driven but peaceful. That balance is the essence of mastery, and it begins with one simple truth. Your energy is sacred, and your focus is how you protect it. Chapter 10. Keep improving your mindset to stay ready for challenges. Your mindset determines how you experience life. It shapes how you handle difficulty, how you respond to opportunities, and how you recover from setbacks. A strong mindset doesn't mean you never struggle. It means you stay adaptable, calm, and determined no matter what happens. Challenges are not a question of if, but when. The world will test your patience, your confidence, and your courage again and again. If your mind is not prepared, you will break under pressure. But if your mindset is trained to keep growing, challenges become fuel instead of obstacles. Improvement is not something you do once, it's a lifelong discipline. A growing mind keeps you sharp, resilient, and ready for whatever life brings. The first step in strengthening your mindset is to understand that it must evolve. The thoughts, beliefs, and habits that served you yesterday may not serve you tomorrow. Growth requires updating your mental framework, just as you update skills or tools. Many people get stuck because they try to face new challenges with old ways of thinking. They rely on familiar patterns because change feels uncomfortable, but comfort slows progress. To stay ready for the future, you must be willing to challenge your own thoughts. Ask yourself often whether your current mindset helps or limits you. If it keeps you safe but small, it's time to expand it. Growth begins when you stop defending your limitations. Improving your mindset requires curiosity. A curious mind sees problems as questions, not threats. It seeks to understand before reacting. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" a curious person asks, "What can I learn from this?" Curiosity opens the door to adaptability. It allows you to look at situations from different angles and find solutions that others overlook. Every challenge carries lessons, but only those who stay mentally open can see them. The more you train yourself to ask questions, the more flexible your thinking becomes. Flexibility is strength. The person who can adapt quickly is always ready for change. Resilience also grows from responsibility. When you take full ownership of your thoughts and actions, you stop blaming external forces for your outcomes. Blame keeps the mind weak because it shifts power away from you. Ownership strengthens it because it reminds you that you have control over how you respond. No matter what happens, your reaction belongs to you. A challenge might catch you off guard, but how you handle it determines whether it becomes a setback or a stepping stone. The moment you accept responsibility for your mindset, you begin to shape life intentionally rather than react to it. A strong mindset depends on what you feed it daily. Just like the body needs nourishing food, the mind needs quality input. Surround yourself with ideas that challenge and inspire you. Read books that expand your understanding. Listen to voices that encourage discipline, not distraction. Spend time with people who make you think deeper, not those who drain your energy. Mental improvement is not accidental, it is the result of deliberate input. If you constantly absorb negativity, your thoughts will reflect it. If you consume wisdom, discipline, and truth, your thinking becomes stable and powerful. Your environment either builds or weakens your mindset, so choose it wisely. To keep improving your mindset, you must embrace discomfort as a teacher. Growth rarely happens when everything feels easy. The mind becomes sharper through difficulty. When you face uncertainty, fear, or failure, those experiences force you to expand. Instead of running from discomfort, use it to stretch your limits. Every time you push through something difficult, you teach your mind endurance. The next time a challenge appears, you'll feel less fear because you've already proven your capacity to handle struggle. Growth comes from effort, not ease. A mindset trained to handle discomfort becomes unstoppable. Mental strength also comes from reflection. Improvement without reflection is repetition. Take time regularly to review your thoughts, your reactions, and your progress. Ask yourself what patterns are helping you and what patterns are holding you back. The habit of reflection turns experience into wisdom. Without it, you repeat the same mistakes under different circumstances. A reflective mindset doesn't just act, it evaluates, adjusts, and evolves. This self-awareness keeps you prepared for change because you understand how you think and why you act. The better you know your own mind, the easier it becomes to steer it. Your mindset will also grow stronger when you practice consistency. Improvement does not come from occasional bursts of effort, but from steady daily habits. Set aside time each day for activities that sharpen your mind: reading, journaling, planning, or simply thinking in silence. Small routines compound into major transformation. The disciplined mind becomes reliable. It doesn't panic when challenges come because discipline creates predictability in uncertainty. You may not know what the world will bring, but you trust yourself to stay steady. That trust is the reward of consistent self-improvement. Another part of mental growth is managing self-talk. The way you speak to yourself determines how you handle challenges. When your internal voice is negative, you create unnecessary resistance. A mind filled with self-criticism cannot focus on solutions. To strengthen your mindset, replace self-judgment with realistic encouragement. When you face difficulty, remind yourself of what you've overcome before. Affirm your ability to figure things out. This isn't false positivity, it's building an internal ally instead of an internal enemy. The voice inside your head should guide, not sabotage. When your inner dialogue is supportive, challenges become tests, not threats. To stay mentally ready, you must keep perspective. Challenges are temporary, but the lessons they offer can last a lifetime. When something goes wrong, look beyond the moment. Ask how this event might contribute to your long-term growth. Perspective prevents emotional overreaction. It reminds you that no difficulty lasts forever and no failure defines you. Every strong mindset is grounded in perspective, the ability to see beyond what's happening right now. This mindset allows you to respond thoughtfully instead of impulsively. It keeps you calm when others panic because you see the bigger picture. Improving your mindset also means maintaining humility. The moment you believe you have nothing left to learn, growth stops. Humility keeps you teachable. It reminds you that even if you've mastered something, there's always a higher level of understanding. Challenges often appear to reveal arrogance. They humble you not to hurt you, but to prepare you for deeper wisdom. When you approach life with a beginner's mind, you remain open to lessons everywhere from success, failure, and even ordinary moments. Humility transforms setbacks into opportunities for self-refinement. To build long-term mental strength, protect your optimism. Optimism is not blind positivity, it's the belief that there is always a path forward. Without optimism, your mind loses direction. Challenges then appear permanent instead of temporary. Cultivate the habit of looking for solutions even when circumstances are difficult. Remind yourself that every problem has an answer, even if you haven't found it yet. Optimism keeps your mind active, creative, and solution-oriented. It fuels perseverance. When you combine optimism with logic, you stay realistic but resilient. That balance is the heart of mental endurance. Growth also comes from patience. The process of improving your mindset is gradual. You won't always see progress immediately, and that's normal. The mind changes through repetition and reflection over time. Impatience leads to frustration, and frustration clouds judgment. Patience allows clarity. Each day that you practice awareness, discipline, and perspective, your mental strength deepens quietly. Eventually, what once felt difficult becomes natural. The patience to keep improving without immediate results is a mark of true strength. Your mindset will be tested most when life feels uncertain. These are the moments that reveal whether you've truly learned or merely repeated ideas. When challenges arrive, pause and remind yourself that you have a choice. You can respond with fear, or you can respond with focus. You can resist, or you can adapt. The strongest minds do not avoid challenges, they meet them with preparation and calmness. They know that life's difficulties are not meant to destroy but to refine. Each test, handled with awareness, builds confidence in your ability to face the next one. To keep your mind ready, expose it to new experiences. Routine can make thinking rigid. Step outside your comfort zone, learn new skills, meet people with different perspectives. Each new experience expands understanding. Growth does not happen in isolation, it happens through interaction with the unfamiliar. When you challenge your thinking, you strengthen it. The broader your experience, the more adaptable your mind becomes. Flexibility ensures readiness because it trains you to think creatively under pressure. Finally, maintaining a strong mindset requires gratitude. Gratitude grounds your thoughts in what is working instead of what's missing. It turns attention away from fear and toward appreciation. When you focus on what you already have, your energy stabilizes. Gratitude creates calm confidence, the sense that you are capable, supported, and resourceful. From that state, you can handle difficulties with balance instead of panic. Gratitude doesn't make challenges disappear, but it keeps your mind clear enough to face them wisely. Improving your mindset is a never-ending process. Each day offers a new opportunity to think better, act wiser, and respond stronger. The goal is not perfection, it's evolution. You grow by observing your thoughts, refining your habits, and learning from every experience. The world will always change, and new challenges will come, but the prepared mind never feels powerless. It adapts, adjusts, and rises. When you commit to lifelong mental growth, you stop fearing the future because you trust your capacity to handle it. That is the ultimate strength, not avoiding challenge, but being ready for it. The evolving mind remains calm in uncertainty, confident in difficulty, and focused on progress. A growing mindset doesn't just survive life, it masters it, one thought at a time.